a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. My name is Guthrie. I'm here with Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hello, Guthrie.
So today, a bunch of logistics stuff is happening that we should just quickly mention before we
Okay.
move on to our topic today, which is going to be AI and UX.
The death of UX.
So we're mucking around with studio stuff.
Yeah.
I have my new mic.
Yay.
Susan has uh,
Susan has microphone problems.
microphone problems. So if anyone's listening live and we sound like we're like unlistenable, um, uh, you can let us know. Otherwise, hopefully we sound okay. Hopefully I sound better, and then Susan will continue to sound better as it moves along. Um, but that's okay. Uh, so let's. Anything you wanted to add to that?
No, that's good.
Okay. So we will jump in. We'll jump in today. Where we do you remember where we left off?
I think so. Well, maybe not. I mean, we were talking the last episode. We talked about what everybody's talking about, Chat GPT, and you went through a very interesting discussion of why AI should be banned. Which and it was really an interesting conversation. So anyone who missed that one, I do suggest that you listen in to our last episode. But we said that what we are going to talk about this week was about the effect that things like Chat GPT will have on the field of design and is specifically user experience design.
Yeah.
That's what we said we were going to
Uh,
talk about.
and we were going to use UX as a microcosm for a lot of other industries that are sort of in the intelligence space.
Okay.
One quick development that's happened sort of in the interim that sort of leads to what I was saying. I've seen, a couple places people who are advanced in the UX field because everyone is like, how can I invest in Chat GPT? How can I invest in Chat GPT? And sort of the word is going out around various other in the tech sphere because people are trying to be like, hey, um, this is like don't invest in us, basically.
Yeah.
I've heard various people say, what they're doing over at ChatGPT, nothing really that original. Like it's not even that good.
Yeah.
I think I saw um, some Silicon Valley person label it as like a bullshit generator, like
Okay.
a mediocre bullshit generator.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, okay. So just as a sense of again, people in the tech community don't seem to be phased. They they don't seem. I mean, they're scared only insofar as they're worried that they won't get investor investment in as big of quantities because they'll be investing in other companies.
Mm.
But yeah, so there's a lot of posturing going on
Hmm.
that it is not all that, and it's really not that impressive. Um, and so,
I've
okay.
heard kind of the opposite. I mean,
Oh, you
I
did?
well, just we have this one client, and I was listening in on some conversations, and these were like programmer, developer type people who were coming up instantly with, okay, here's how our company could use this.
Oh no, but that's not. Again, that's not. I mean, I'm not. I was talking about people in the AI space.
Oh, okay, I
Right.
got you.
Yeah,
I got
that
you.
people in the AI space were sort of like, "Oh,
Saying,
just wait
oh,
till you see what we
well,
can
what
do."
we've got, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
All right. So let's enough of the chit chat. Let's
Okay,
jump into it now. Unless there's anything
okay.
else you would like to add, chat about.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to something I've been talking about for a long time, and I think we mentioned at some point that um, my timeline horizons are often way off on things. So uh, I mean, I don't even want to tell you what year it was when I declared that, you know, voice interfaces were about to explode onto the world. It was a long time ago, and
Yeah, it's
I
over
was
there.
wrong. It took a while. It did eventually, but it took literally decades more than I thought. And the same as with AI. I mean, I made, the pronouncement, this is about to explode on, and then it's been decades. So I'm often wrong on the timeline. One of the things that I've been saying for, again, maybe not quite that long, maybe not decades, but many years, is that if you are a person whose job it is to design uh, interfaces, app interfaces, web software interfaces, if your job is just designing screens and pages and, using Figma or Sketch or Adobe XD or whatever tool that you used to use or you're using now, I've been saying, if you're not planning on retiring in the next year, you should figure out what else you're going to do, because there won't be jobs doing this, because the machines will do it. And I've been saying that, I don't know, Guthrie, 10 years, maybe. So again, I think my timeline horizon is off. However, I think, you know, I think now with the AI stuff, Chat GPT stuff, I think that's going to accelerate. I mean, you know, you're probably really tired of the stories from me and others saying, "Oh, I tried this out on Chat GPT." Right? But I did. I'm going to tell you, I tried this out on Chat GPT. I went to Chat GPT and I said, design a screen for me for an app, and I just typed in what I want. I was like, I want create a screen in an app for people to register to take UX courses, and here's the UX courses that they should be able to sign. I just kind of typed in like stream of consciousness and pressed the button, and then ChatGPT just started designing the screen. Now, was it at all sophisticated in terms of visual design? No, it was a wireframe. It was pretty rough, but there it was, and it had made decisions about where the button should be and what the button should say. I didn't tell it what to put on the buttons, and it just made a bunch of design decisions and did the wireframe. And then I think there was a button there that said, get the code. I was like, really? It wrote code behind it.
Hmm.
So, I, I just think this is going to happen really fast, and I think
Yeah.
it's a change to the work that UX people and UI, user interface design people. Um, oh, and if you want to know the difference between UX and UI, just ask ChatGPT, because I think they give a really good explanation
Okay.
for
All right.
that.
So let's
You want
dig
to
in.
pause me? You want to
Yeah.
stop me? Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make me
Let's dig in
stop.
deeper here because there
Okay.
are um, different orders of magnitude with all
Yes.
these things.
Yeah.
It's not just one. Um, there's different levels of sophistication in
Okay.
everything. So let's let there are two paths when it comes to, let's just stick with the UX design for the
Uh,
moment,
Okay.
right? So how using AI, deep learning, software and technology can, we are saying, do the work of UX design. So the first is going to be the abstract, simple layer of UX design work. So this is going to be, um, the work that a lot of companies think is UX design, or some of the ancillary work that UX designers are doing. And so that's part one, and that's maybe the simpler work. Like you said, it made decisions about where to put the buttons. That is something that a UX designer maybe would do in a company, which is different than the second part, which is doing good UX design and applying the UX research that you create to, come up with, a design that's easy to use. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's
Well.
so there's so I want to
Yeah.
I want to kind of have you start with the easier
Yeah.
thing, which is
Okay.
automating some of the tasks that UX
Yeah.
designers do that are maybe more basic, and then we're going to work our way
Yeah.
towards the
That's good. And
nuance.
so we're going to have to use certain terminology and explain the terminology. And this is not standard. So I'm just going to tell you the terms I've been using lately. I've tried to standardize. I've tried to listen to what other people call things. I mean, we could have an entire episode on that and get probably lots of people writing in and saying,
Terminology is
no, 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 no. But
boring.
we have to. We have to address it here, or people won't know what we're talking
Yes.
about. So I'm going to call the the detailed design decisions about. Uh, uh, where exactly where the button should go on the screen, and um, what color the button should be, and the order of that things should appear on that particular screen. I'm going to call that UI, user interface design.
And this
Okay,
would be, for the most part, if I was a developer and this would be my sort of ask from a UX designer.
that's correct. Well, a UI designer. I'm
UI
going to use the
designer.
term right.
Yes,
Because
UI
yeah, we need a
designer.
screen so that the users can do blah blah blah. We need a screen so the users can see the results of right. Yes, and that I'm going to call it UI design work. Again, everyone might want to argue with me what we call things, but that's what I'm going to call it.
So yeah,
It's
so this is this first level, which is the raw output that an unsophisticated user needs in order to continue. They if you think of all of UX as a black box,
yeah,
and I'm a developer,
yeah,
I make a request, things happen, and
right,
then I get this back.
yeah, and the a UI designer is typically doing a prototype. It's not the actual code, and then the developer's going to
Yeah.
turn that prototype into the code, and there's all different ways to do that and so on. But that's what I call UI
And of course,
design.
we know that there's secret sauce, there's magic happening with research and with all kinds of modeling, and there's complicated things that happen before that eventually gets turned over to the dev side, ideally.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where and so I call it detail design, UI design. Some people call it UX design. You could call it UX detail design. But then there's the UX design work that is hopefully a precursor to that. And that's, I typically use the term conceptual modeling or designing the high level design. So that's all the work that a user experience person does in order to, that has to do with what is it that people or users are really want to accomplish. What is the task flow? What is the series of screens uh, that we should do in what order? Um, what should things be called? What is the mental model that the users have, and how can we design our screens and pages to fit that mental model? So it's everything that should be done. There's scenarios, storyboards, object view decisions, task analysis, task system architecture. There's a whole bunch of stuff that UX designers do or should be doing before somebody is sitting down, and doing that detailed UI work. Now, a lot of times that's missing. Like it's just nobody's doing it, and that's a problem. But in a lot of organizations, you do have, UX design doing that conceptual modeling. Now, by the way, Guthrie, just to give you my whole entire picture, user research is a whole nother thing that feeds into all this, but that's separate. So I think, back to the ChatGPT and just AI in general, I think AI will very quickly take over the user interface design, that detail design. And I think AI could do some of the what I was describing as the high level conceptual model work, but not all of it. So um, but I think it is a very, I'd love to see AI help us do that conceptual design modeling, and I think it
No, okay.
could.
So okay, you're jumping ahead.
All right,
So
I'm
we're
sorry.
so let's just start
Yeah,
with just
just the UI design.
just the UI design, the
Okay,
raw
that's
output.
the easiest place.
So um how automated do you think that could be?
I think it could be extremely automated. I guess here's how I envision it, and I shouldn't describe this. We should just go create it and make millions,
It's
Guthrie.
never gonna happen.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and describe it. I think that you could, first of all, set up, you could make some choices to set up um, your design system. You could say, okay, I want to, we're going to use um, design system A, which has blue buttons and right, and all this font and all those decisions are made, and that's built into the design system. So then, as a UI designer, all I have to do is say, using the blah blah blah, the A1 design system, because I could have multiple ones. No, but I want to use the A1. Using the A1 design system, I can now just tell you, at the very least, I can tell you what I want on the screen or page. Um, I think we can get to the point where the AI knows the best order to put things in, um, knows, is making just decisions about what to call things, exactly what the label of that button should be. I think we could get to the point where I just have to give you a description of what I want the user to be able to do,
So
and
where do
that
those data sets come from? Because
which data sets.
well, so if we're talking in AI terms, you
Yeah,
need a large data set
yeah,
and you need the data set to um, basically have a this is like what you want to find. So in the classic example is when Google's trying to have it do image recognition, you know you if you're going to do image recognition, then you need humans to say yes, this is a turtle, right? And then you can compare your model. Then you're just trying to get the highest level of accuracy,
yeah,
right? And however it gets there is how it gets there, and that's sort of up to the that's how you're finding you're tuning to figure out the best model because you
yeah,
know what your outcome is.
yeah,
Um, uh, with ChatGPT, I'm sure it's similar. They had an entire, I'm sure there are forums, right? And there are all sorts of forums where people are like, this is the right answer. This is the best answer.
yeah,
This is the highest rated answer,
yeah,
And so you can, if you're giving ChatGPT, Reddit, and was it Quora and, Code Exchange and,
yeah,
um, Stack Overflow. I think these I'm just probably naming things wrong, but these are like sort of places where people are asking questions and then answers are given and you can sort of figure out what are the highest rated answers. What are the here's 7 billion answers to questions. What do they have in common? And you can then sort of let the AI magic sort of figure out things that they have in common. With a big enough data set, anything is possible. So, going back then, how do you train a model when it comes to design? How can you train it to be like for it to know that this what I created is in line with the design system
yeah. Well,
versus
basically,
not
I
necessarily how you get there, but what's the data set that
okay.
you're
Basically, I have
drawing?
no idea. That's the easy answer. But here's what. All right. So, uh, and this is not how to train AI data sets. That is not my area of
No, I know,
expertise.
but you do. But in order for it to be good, I really do think that you do need a data set because otherwise if there's not a data set that's readily available that you can train it against, I do think that will slow it down
Yeah, no, I
considerably.
understand. I don't know. I don't know how this work is done. I mean, I would think you could. Can you not somehow feed it and say, Here's a gazillion examples of good design."
Potentially, yes.
I
You
mean,
could.
what I and you can you feed it and say, "Here's a gazillion examples of bad design," or do you just give them good design? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this question, but I don't know how it is
But
that
it's
when
not
I
about. Well, hold on. I gotta push back here
what?
because it's not about good design versus bad design. I mean, that's
Okay,
certainly part of it. But you were
yeah,
talking about, hey, I need this design you make to match my design system. I
yeah,
need it
that
to
part
use
I don't know.
this
I just
logo
thought,
and this color and
yeah, I
this
was just
layout and this
throwing that in
spacing.
there.
No, but I think that's important, right? So how so that
Is the
that is
AI going to create the design system
I think it would almost be easier for an AI to create a design system than to come
than to
up with
create the
a
screens?
page that matches
Yeah,
your design
that
system.
that's
But
not bad.
maybe
Yeah,
that's true. Maybe there's a two step, right? Where you have one AI like a chat GPT that can turn your design system into a set of parameters that then could be judged against it. I don't
I
know.
would think you could do the. I would think you could also go the other way. It's like, oh, here's a bunch of apps. Create a design system.
That's what I'm saying. I think creating a design system would be the
That
easy part.
that
Here,
would be great.
here's go find a list of the best kind of designed websites, right? And it
Yeah,
populates a
absolutely,
list from the internet,
absolutely.
and
Yep,
then okay, what are things about that would be like good? Come up with a design system, and then you can kind of tweak that.
right.
And then maybe there's a way to do sort of parameter matching. Now we're
Yes,
getting into the weeds a little bit,
yes,
but
we are.
I do think that is one of the important elements of right now AI that's really good. So make a painting like a Monet,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
You need it to give you it needs to have
Yes.
that endpoint
Yeah.
to try
Yeah.
and go to.
And I don't
And
see why. I think we can do that. Now here's an interesting. So there's so many interesting questions to me that come out of this. So one thing is actually, what's the best way? Assume that's all in place.
yes,
What's the best way to tell ChatGPT
what
what
you
it
want to do
is
that.
you want to design? Like when I tried it, right? All I did was say, well, I want, design an app for people to register for courses, and here's the courses they can. I mean, I'm kind of curious about what's the best way for us to even the AI what it is we want to design.
So I do have a answer to this.
Yeah,
I think uh, the image generating AI
yeah,
is already is a good example of what is to come with this kind
yeah,
of stuff. So you'd say, "Hey, I would like a painting of a flower in the style of
yeah,
Monet,"
yeah, yeah,
and it does that.
yeah,
But if there's a part of it that you're not happy with,
yeah,
you can select that part, right? And you can
yeah,
sort of draw and pick it and
yeah.
say, okay, do something else with this
With
particular
this one,
part.
yeah,
So what I think the way it's going to work is very similar to the way good design works, which is high, low, right? You're doing big picture
yeah.
conceptual
Zoom
stuff,
out,
and then you're
zoom
going to
in, zoom
zoom
out.
in,
I
zoom
call
out, and
it.
then you're going to zoom in and do specific stuff. So you say, hey, I would like a wireframe of this that fits with
A
our design
course
principles,
registration
and
page.
we are going to assume that the movie magic is there and that it can do things with your particular corporate parameters, that in the software there's like, here are my parameters, here's my design system, right? We use these fonts and these colors, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this is
yeah.
menu on the top or whatever,
Right.
and that it it abides by those. So let's just assume that that exists. I don't think that's impossible, but I
Yeah,
do think there are some, like I said, maybe some roadblocks that might slow this down a little bit, at
yeah.
least for this particular application. So then once you have that, then where do you go? I think you start with that thing and you say, okay, um, let's work on this flow, this wireframe. and it'll generate it, and then you say, okay, this button, can I get some, can you try this again?
Yeah.
Figure out some, give me some other
Yeah.
options,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? Like, hey, this paragraph that you wrote, this is too corporate. Rewrite this copy to be more
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Over here, this icon, this is too boring. Make
Yeah.
something that's more colorful. and
Yeah.
so and so you kind of select the elements, and because it's actually doing the code, or at least doing the quasi code, the same way that you would make a mock-up in Sketch or Figma or
Yes.
um, you know uh, XD.
Yeah.
um, that is quasi code, where elements are software already. And so it'd
Yes.
be very easy to select an element and say, try it again, do it with these extra parameters, do it this way, do it that way, try it here, try it there, do this thing, do that thing. And so you could basically have an expert massage it
Right.
into uh, visually into sort of really kind of
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah. So can I take this? So I think this is going to happen, and I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. But I want to actually take this to a few other levels of possible abstraction. So one interesting. So let's see. I want to go to two different branches. One branch is, well, once all that is done, then does anybody really need to write code, or did we just actually go from prototyping to code? And
Did
so not only
do your
do the
job.
UI designers lose their job, but all the programmers and developers lose their job.
Well, hey, I have to say that just like developers don't really know what UX people do, UX people also don't really know what
That's
developers do.
for sure. I don't know.
So
You
there
know,
are certainly aspects of development that I think a lot of
that may
developers
also go away, right?
would are praying for the sweet relief of AI, so they don't have to do, the
Do something
recursive
else.
whatever one more time.
Okay,
Um,
so that was one question, but I have another question.
but there are probably still things that would free them up to work on other stuff. But well,
Yes,
let's much in the same way. There's
right.
the straightforward code where it's
Yes.
just like, hey, make a login
The
script that
yes.
access this database that I've
Okay.
done 1,000 times. And
But
then there's the
I
stuff
think
that
it's
is the
I,
next level.
I think it's very
So
possible that some programmers and developers with lizards aren't needed the same way the UI
yeah,
design
no,
part might
we
not
just
be
said
needed.
the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah,
I think the AI can
can
tackle.
do. All right, but I have another question. This is another kind of meta abstract question. If we are saying, so for instance, we have a client who is looking at maybe the our users that are currently using this software and these screens to do what they need to do, maybe they won't need to do that because maybe all they will do is type in an instruction right into chat gpt. Oh, do this, and it does it. So maybe we won't even need to create all these screens
No,
because
okay.
that's not
Well,
how
hold on.
someone would sign up for the course.
But this
Maybe
is
someone just types in or says, "Oh, register me for the UX
I
special topics course." So you don't even need a screen.
I understand. But that's a if you want to do that next week, we can do that next week.
Okay.
That
But
is
I'm
that
just
is
saying
how
it all kind
AI
of
might
flows in.
change the
All right, all
design of
right. You
things.
want to, all right. We're just
But
tackling how
that's
does
not
AI
that is a
change
different
UI. All
that's a
right,
whole
all right.
different can of worms. That's a
That
good
is,
can of worms.
it's a can of
But
worms.
but
It's,
um I mean, you often tell in your keynotes and workshops the joke about the developer who said there's a Dilbert cartoon in which they sort of joke about not having an interface.
yeah, the Dilbert cartoon that says, "Oh, we've decided we can save money. We're just not going to have an interface at all for this
And the
program.
developers are like, "Can we actually do
Yeah,
that?"
I
That'd be
actually had
great.
people ask me,
So
"Oh, can we
that's
do that?"
basically what you're advocating is like, let's get rid of all
All
interfaces.
the
And there's
interfaces.
always an interface. There's always going to be, second
Yeah, but it
chances and
might not
checks, and
be a screen. But anyway, you're
it
right.
might
We
it
can.
might be different, yes. But
Okay,
that's
let's
sort of a
forget about that. All
different.
right, you know we're
Obviously,
going
if
too
you
far ahead.
have, I mean, yes and no, it just sort of returns the flows to the way they used to be previously before
Right
pre-internet days.
before
Before you'd
graphical
pick up the
user
phone and you'd say,
interfaces.
"Hey, can you book me 2 tickets to
That's right.
Hawaii? I've called my travel agent. Here,
So
yeah,
we're
I want to go in April.
That's
I
right.
want a hotel."
Exactly.
Right?
I
And so
know.
we're just
I
kind of getting
know.
back
Well, I'm just saying.
to that. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's a different topic
It is a
for, I think,
different
a different
topic.
day. So okay, so I think we are in agreement, or this, you sort of said that from the, some of the UI elements can be
Yes.
automated, and I
Yes.
do think there is a level of visual design that, I mean, just speaking personally, I don't think you maybe give visual designers enough credit for.
No, you are totally wrong. I give visual designers an enormous amount of credit.
Um, it, there because there's another layer of what's happening in visual design, and maybe most of that can be automated too, but that is going to be the like coming up with in an app, fancy animations that sort of
Absolutely.
work with the brand, coming up with style guides and the way sort of things are represented in pleasing aesthetic ways, and some of that can be replicated, but there's also a lot of work that has to happen in sort of creating the aesthetic as
Yes.
well and staying true to
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
I do think in the same way, some of that visual design can maybe be freed up from where do I put the button to let me work on this really cool
Well,
sort of
and
animation
right now there's a huge mishmash mess
AR stuff
of
and
what is
3D
UI and
modeling.
what is visual design. I mean, that's a
Sure, sure.
we could talk
But
about that for an hour, but I
yeah,
don't want to.
so that is to say that even within UX, there is a layer of even within UI, there's a layer of abstraction where there's sort of the nuts and bolts of it that can probably be easily automated, and then there's sort of
Yes.
the what would be considered the higher level stuff. You know,
Yes.
the so the, yes, you have to do the visual design, but then there's the good visual design. Yes, you have to do the nuts and bolts of UX, which is to hand a developer, here's what you should create. And then there's the, but is it designed well?
Yeah.
So let's now move on to that second level.
Okay.
Okay. And so how can AI be used to create good design? Design that is, how can AI be leveraged to make apps and software and programs um, more user friendly and replace some of the work that a UX professional would do with conceptual model, the way you define it, conceptual modeling and detailed design, and how is
Well,
can that be
conceptual
replaced?
modeling is different from detailed design. So UI is what we were talking about with
I
the
was just
detailed
sort of
design.
putting it all sort of
Yeah.
the good stuff, the stuff that the professionals get paid the money to do, to make the things that would separate pretty, what you would, the way you would classify it as something that's pretty but not well designed versus something that is ideally pretty and well designed,
Yeah.
user friendly.
I don't actually don't know the answer to the question. I mean, I'm starting to think about all of this stuff. I mean, the UX conceptual model UX design is complicated.
I have
If
thoughts, by the way, if you don't have any.
well, yeah, I want to hear. I mean, yeah, I have some thoughts, but why don't you go first? What are your thoughts?
I figured you want me to go first. um I saw the look in your eyes.
No, I just go ahead.
So This is a question that has dogged UX for forever.
Which
The
question?
entire time I've been in the field, which
Which
isn't that
question?
long. How do you measure good design? How do you quantify whether something is designed for the user and is usable versus not? And we teach a whole course on the ROI of design. And the
Yeah.
entire point, what was the other one? Metrics or something about
Yes.
UX
Success.
metrics,
Yeah. Good
success
metric.
metrics, UX success metrics. And the entire point is things happen. People are interacting with your product, service, app, whatever. And there's an interaction. And somewhere in that interaction, there's value to be gained by having it be well designed in brand loyalty, in fewer calls to customer service, in reduced frustration, in time saving. Like there's value to be gained. But some of those things are really, really, really hard to quantify. So, um, a company maybe like Apple, people call it quote the Apple magic. There are things there are that are small that are really complicated that Apple just does really, really smoothly, and they are often appreciated by their users for being so just like, well, that was not hard. That was great. You know, um, setting up a new iPhone. You have your old
I
iPhone.
totally disagree with you.
On Apple or on measuring good design.
Not the Apple part. Look, I absolutely you
You think
can
it's easy
measure.
to measure it?
Absolutely
No,
is.
I'm not saying you can't measure it. All I'm saying it is difficult to measure. So okay, so let's in Apple's case, there is an ease with which people at least perceive
Yes.
using Apple products,
Yes.
and that has a value,
Yes. So
big
you
value.
can measure it, you can set it, you can plan for it, you can
I
implement
think
it.
that's hard to measure.
It's not hard to measure. People just aren't interested in measuring it, and they aren't interested in doing it. So we had this conversation. I don't maybe on the podcast episode, or maybe we were just talking. The the quality of the user experiences the is declining at a fairly rapid pace. It's happening all around us, and I feel like nobody's noticing. It's like,
No, I think
oh,
people
all
notice.
these buildings are crumbling, and no one's noticing that the buildings are crumbling.
People
You
complain
know,
about how terrible everything is all the time.
everything is getting really really bad, and so why is that? Is that because we don't know how to design it well? No, it's because it's not a priority, and the people who are making the decisions about what to build and how to build it, they're distracted. They have a lot of other things they're worrying about, and it just becomes a lower priority. So you can absolutely design an experience that works for the human if you want to, um, and you can measure what about it makes it work. What about it makes it delightful? What takes it from a really problematic and a big pain to okay to ooh good or an absolute delight. Like, there's different levels, and you can decide to which level to build at, and you can plan for that, and you can measure it, and you can validate it. There's it's in some ways it's not that hard, and in other ways it's extremely hard because you have to be willing to take the time and energy to do it, to change the way you design and the way you measure and the way you validate so that's an important priority. It's a matter of setting priorities. And right now for most organizations who are developing stuff, it is not that high a priority. That's why we see the quality that we have. There are some companies that it is a priority, and they bake it into their plans and their processes and their testing and their measurement.
So this is a good. So this is why I wanted to do this whole UX thing, because it is a microcosm of what you'll see in a lot of industries. Because the instinct is to say, with AI doing a lot of the design, you need to be able to point it to what's good and what's bad. It
Yes,
has to, if you're really going to leverage it, you have to tell it how to get there.
yeah,
So that is going to require a lot of companies to invest in the metric UX metrics infrastructure that would take people off doing the design, have the AI do design, and have them do the metrics and the infrastructure. Okay,
exactly.
and in that way you could have you'll get better results because the
That's
AI will
right.
be doing design and you can measure it and you can say, hey, make this better, and it'll make it better, and
Yes,
it is better for the user. But this is so that's the instinct of where you could take it. However, the problem is that the priorities of the organization have not changed. The
correct.
priority is to prioritize development ease, to prioritize making money,
Yes,
and to prioritize, pushing profits, and lowering overhead are all still there. So just because you have a AI tool that is freeing up resources in UX, I don't think that necessarily means that the UX is
I
going to
agree.
be any better.
Oh, I totally agree. I didn't say
It's
it
just
was
going
bad.
to it's going to be the same, just leveraged.
And
So
yeah, the people aren't creating it.
yeah, so the answer is not going to be, hey, now that we have this, let's get better UX because we have extra resources. It'll be great. We can get rid of the UX department
Exactly.
and just have
Exactly.
a
I
small
agree.
developer thing.
That's right. We don't need the UX people at all.
Right.
That could we certainly won't need the UI people. Let's cut them. And what is this other UX thing? Do we
And
need them?
and now that we don't need that, let's just roll UX research into business research,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, I think we're all in trouble. But I think
Okay, so
the
so let's back up then.
okay.
So this being a microcosm,
Yeah.
UX is a niche field. It
Yeah.
is a small flea on the much larger
Yes.
organism.
Yes.
Usually it is a small little section that is dwarfed by engineering or
Yes.
development, or it's affixed to it, in
Yep.
some way. And that in part is a large part, but not even the entire organism that is a
That's right.
company. And there are some things in the company because of regulatory stuff that has to you just
Some.
have to have. Development is certainly one. If you have any kind of electronic anything,
Mhm.
website or app or whatever, you got to have a dev team and servers. If you have
Yep.
cloud
Yep.
logins and
All that stuff.
databases, you got to have that stuff.
Yep.
You got to
Security.
have HR because of regulatory legal
Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
Um, Marketing, I think, will always be floating around. Could be heavily automated, but you definitely need you just got to have some sort of marketing sales. You got to have a sales channel.
Yep.
These are all big classic
Yes.
things that make up the bulk of an organization.
Yes.
There are smaller niches in the that are sort of around. I could see, uh, maybe I'm not intelligent to really know what all of those small niches are, but they're out there. And I think uh, they're probably the ones that institutionally are going to be in trouble because so much of their function will be, uh, you know, let's streamline, let's simplify, let's have the AI do that, because then we can just get rid of it. We can't get rid of engineering, but maybe some small subset within engineering
Yes.
that was happening, we can
Yes.
consolidate, we can, you know, have a new, more streamlined process where that where we set what the business goals are, and then the AI does this and that and this thing and that thing. And then, we're kind of approving the process here, 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 and here at the crucial checkpoints. And I just don't think
Yep.
UX is going to be a crucial checkpoint, right?
Right. And I think in some ways that's happening right now.
Right, exactly. And so the AI being a tool like any other tool, it's just going to leverage the business goal, which is to streamline and consolidate and iterate more rapidly.
Yep. So the places where UX might still be seen as a value are in a couple of places. So I think one, you talked about the regulatory, and we talked last week about the risks of AI, and there are places where if you don't pay attention to what's going on, like thousands of people will die. Okay, that might still be of interest, and that's still around. So that's the whole question of I boil this down to what are the things that are human that are not machine. Humans, uh, because of the way they're put together, they often make bad decisions. They often make mistakes. They have emotions. They have feelings. They have preferences. These are all kind of human things. Really, they're primate animal things, but they're not machine things. And in the places where that is of concern, or we need to mitigate risk, or that'll cost us a lot of money, or we want to be delightful, or we want to capitalize on what humans are interested in. Those are the places that will be interested in having, basically a human expert, a person who, which a lot of UX people have the training for, maybe not all, but wait a minute, who knows about people, right? Who knows about human behavior? Who knows the research on human behavior? Who knows the research on, on decision making? I mean, those places will be interested in having a human centric person involved
That
in the
sounds
process.
much more like the model. Um, we work with organizations where UX is its own thing. We work with organizations where UX is part of engineering. But what you are talking about sounds very much like a sophisticated organization in which UX is part of marketing, in which there is a marketing business development
Well, it's not just
team,
marketing.
and they but like I know there are agencies that they do marketing, but it's not like traditional marketing, right? They do brand consultation, they do trying to you're advocating engaging experiences, you're trying to make it fun. There is a business development marketing side as opposed to the dev process
Yeah.
engineering making the product side.
Well, and I mean, if you ask me what it should be, I think there should be a department, a human-centered department that
Yeah.
that advises marketing or sales or engineering or development or whatever, right? But so UX traditionally is all over the place. So in some organization, it's on its own and it reports directly to the CEO, and others it goes through marketing, and others it goes through a business line, and
Like
others it
like a
goes
C
through
a C
engineering,
level human department.
and other businesses it goes through technology. Yeah, I mean it's all over the place. It always has been all over the place, but it probably should be just its own thing. You know, oh, what should we do about blah, blah, blah? Let's go talk to the people in the human center. You know, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
body of
just make it a C-suite.
yeah, C-suite. The
Yeah.
people who know about people. We need a department that knows about people, and that can advise anybody who's making a decision. Or it's like, well, are people going to do this, or are people going to do that, or what do people want? It's you know, to me. But of course,
So, well, hold on. So
I
let
have
me
a psych
just
background, so I'm going to think that's critical.
no, but I think again, this is a good thought exercise as a microcosm of how things play out.
Hmm.
Obviously, AI will be very disruptive. It will break down a lot of the
Yes.
traditional walls that were set up
Yes.
because of a certain thing. And now that,
Yep.
there are more streamlined processes, actually, when you look at, so even just the departments within an organization. And I think we said that AI is going to cause, rather than more sophistication, will cause consolidation. And I
Yep.
think there are a lot of other places where there's maybe an enclave that traditionally has been its own thing, that can then you pull all the enclaves together and consolidate them into sort of one more coherent, you know, body. It used to be that engineering development in a lot of companies was very small because they just needed a website. There was the people in product design, marketing. That's where all the people
Yep.
were. And now all of a sudden they're just dwarfed by these huge fields of engineers.
Yeah.
So there have been. It's not like there's never been changes in the past,
Yep.
and the size and the way sort of things are structured and consolidated and stuff. So I think you will see kind of a lot of those specialty things maybe get consolidated into one larger department, like you said, sort of like a human department. I could see um, uh, other departments get consolidated into larger stuff. So, for example, with AI doing stuff, you're going to need there's going to be an even larger regulatory apparatus that you're going to have to deal with, right? Like if you have AI designing stuff, right? Like you're going to have to make sure you're going to have a human, just from a legal perspective, you need a human to validate that you can the, push this out without something going wrong
Right.
that then you would get sued over. So
Right.
so you could see another department that would combine HR, legal, and QA, for example, all into like a regulatory C-suite
Yeah. Hmm.
level.
Hmm.
Yeah, you could see uh, engineering and some of the business um, uh, data, uh, the sort of big the business data. Usually, business data is like in its own little thing. You could
Yeah.
see them kind of being consolidated
Yeah.
because you need the business data in order to tell the AI what to
What to do?
maximize. So
Hmm.
you should really have those departments together.
Hmm.
So sort of like a large reconsolidation of various things. And I think that is going to be disruptive to a
Yeah.
lot of industries
Yeah.
because
I
the
think they'll
thing,
be
yeah.
slow to. I think
Well, of
they'll be
course, they're going
slow
to be
to change.
slow. That's guaranteed. The companies are. I like how companies are always think that they're like quick and responsive, and they never are.
I don't see very many quick and
They're
responsible ones,
slow
but
moving boats. It's kind of
it's hard to
awkward.
get people to change.
Yeah,
It's hard to get people and organizations to change. All right, so
that's good.
I
No,
mean,
I feel satisfied that we got to the end and we had a conclusion and a takeaway and
and it's
a
all
vision
yeah, and so I
of
like
what
I
it's going
said,
to do.
UX is dead and UI is dead, and you know I'm worried about it.
But not but it just changed.
Um, I'm worried about it.
I mean, I still think they'll it has always been that advocating for a user experience is
Is
good for
a
the company. And there will
yeah,
be some companies that want to do that, and that will be
Yes.
a strategic advantage that the other
Yes.
companies at least have to pretend or shuffle around or do something
Yeah, but
to
then they
match.
don't. Yeah, but then it's like what that phrase, lip service only. So
Hey,
to me, it
you know,
really comes down to whether, I mean, and maybe I'm just being very simplistic, but do the high level people in the organization think that human stuff is critical to their operation? Yes or no?
they may not.
And that's fine if they don't, and they've already decided that, and those are the
There's
groups
been lots
where
of companies who make a lot of money
a
not
lot of money not caring about
caring.
that. I know, and they do just fine. So I understand, what they're, yeah, yeah. So it has to have value and for an organization in order for them to be willing to invest in it and do it well.
So, if you want to finish by just saying, uh, any advice to UXers out there?
I do have advice to UXers. So my advice, again, as I said, if you're planning on doing this, if you're not going to be retiring in the next year, my advice to you is may work on honing your skills in the human part of what you do. Think about what and be honest. Be honest. Don't say, oh no, I could do this much better than a machine could. No, if a machine can do it, then put it off to the side. It's not a question of whether you can do it better than a machine. The question is, could a machine do that soon? Yes, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. So uh, learn about the research on humans, on human decision making, on biology of humans. The, people don't see the color blue very well. I mean, just anything you can do to understand humans better, I think gives you a leg up. I would also
Or
concentrate, yeah, or
or be the person who's going to be the big picture person who can
yes,
check who is holding the AI reins, who
yes,
is saying, okay, try this this way. We need something this way. This isn't quite
yes.
right. Like, okay, gotta make this thing work better. You know,
Yes, yes, I agree. High level conceptual model, UX strategy, uh, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of AI. You've got it. You got to dig into it because it is happening. It may
well,
not
no, no,
happen
no.
well.
You can also be afraid of it. It is
Okay, no, I don't mean I don't. Okay, no, you
you
should
you
be
you can
afraid of it.
think it should be illegal
No,
because you're
but what
afraid
I
of it,
mean is
but also
don't put your head in the sand.
sand. There you
That's
go.
what I meant.
Yes.
Don't say I don't like this. I don't want anything to do with it. You have to try and understand what's going on because you got to be prepared. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. While still
Guthrie,
advocating for it to all be illegal.
oh yeah, you can keep doing that. Guthrie, thank you so much for this crazy conversation.
Yes, and like I said, we'll continue to work on our audio setup. Hopefully, this
Yeah, hopefully
I
we'll
think I
improve
think
that.
we got some feedback that everything
All
sounds
right.
good. So thank you so
Thank
much, and I'll
you.
talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.